Start now? Yes. Hello, I'm Rosemary Shields, a member of the League of Women Voters of the City of New York. On behalf of the Manhattan Neighborhood Network and the League of Women Voters, we would like to welcome you to our candidates debate. During the next hour, you will hear from the Democratic candidates who are running for the 72nd Assembly District, a district in Upper West Manhattan, which starts in Marble Hill and includes Inwood and the east side of Washington Heights. This area includes approximately 132,555 residents. The boundaries of this district are new this year as a result of the 2010 census. The primary election will be held on Thursday, September 13th, and that vote will determine who the Democratic candidate will be in the general election in November. All four candidates were invited to participate, and we're pleased that 3 are here in the studio. So let me introduce our candidates. Gabriela Rosa is a special advisor to Assemblyman Herman Farrell, and previously she was the chief of staff to the city councilman of the 10th Council District. Ruben Vargas is an evidence specialist of the NYPD, and he is a longtime community activist, and he's also U.S. Air Force retired. And Mayra Linares is district leader of the 72nd Assembly District and was appointed by the governor as a Citizens Services representative. She is the daughter of Guillermo Linares, the incumbent. The candidates are seated in the order of their closing statements, which was determined by lot prior to tonight. The questions asked were developed by the League of Women Voters, and the rules were set by us and agreed to by the candidates. After the first question, I will call the candidate's response in random order. Unless I say otherwise, each candidate will have up to 1 minute to respond to each question, and I will ask as many questions as time permits, followed by closing statements. The timekeeper is seated in the front row and will provide a 15-second warning to each candidate. So let us begin. And so we'll start with Ms. Rosa, and you'll all answer the same question. More jobs have been lost in the public sector than the private sector, yet governments are suffering from reduced tax revenue. What can the state legislature do to improve the job situation in the city, and particularly in Assembly District 72?
Well, specifically in the district of 72nd, which, as you mentioned, comprises the neighborhoods of Washington Heights, Inwood, and Marble Hill, we have been targeted in a negative way with job loss. And part of that is the situation that we're having with the small businesses. They closing their doors due to a really harassment policy that landlords has been having in the last 10 years in our district. And specifically talking about the property tax, which is forcing the small business to close their doors. But we have been trying to do job fairs. I think more needs to be done, and definitely we need to bring the private sector to work with the government. I think the government is not responsible 100% about creating jobs. We need to do it with the private sector as well.
Thank you, Ms. Rosa.
Sure.
So, Mr. Vargas?
Thank you. As President Barack Obama said once, small businesses are the backbone of the national economy. So we have to protect the small businesses. What do I mean by that? What's happening currently is when any small business is doing well or appear to be doing well, the owner of the property increases the rent to the sky and do it at will, the owner of the property. My answer to that is we need to have commercial rent control So it would be a great motivation to business owner. And also, it would tell them, if you work hard, the profit will be for you. And you won't be like working for someone else, like not just an honest people, just be working for someone else. So my main issue would be commercial rent control.
Thank you. Ms. Linares?
Well, I think small business is the key as well. At my time in the governor's office, I had a project which was with small business, focusing on minority small businesses throughout the state. That was a great experience because me, myself, I had a small business for some time, for 4 years. And in that time, you know, you manage as best you can. Doing the project in the governor's office, what I learned is that there's so much that still needs to be supported in terms of the small businesses. There's so many rules and policies that if you don't know, you could easily get a large fine that can close a business. There's also programs in the state that help not just to start businesses, but to grow current businesses that you have. Rent is a big issue with commercial spaces as well, but supporting our small businesses is what's going to help us support jobs in our community as well.
Thank you. Okay, there is a shortage of affordable housing in the city and in your district. Given the lack of federal and state funding, what can the state legislature do to stabilize the housing market? I'll give that one to Mr. Vargas.
Thank you. Well, in order to stabilize the rent housing problem that we have up in Manhattan, I think up in Manhattan has been especially suffered the housing problem. As we see around the citywide, it has been a great success in housing. Anywhere, any neighborhood you walk, you see there are buildings being constructed, new housing being built, with the exception of Upper Manhattan, on the Upper West Side. There is not Upper West Side new housing development, affordable housing that we need so much uptown Manhattan. And I believe that what is actually needed is a legislator, a member, an elected official who would actually work with the community, a little bit more concerned about the community than the other members that are concerned about their political affiliations.
Thank you. Ms. Linares.
I think in terms of housing, it's one of many issues, but it's a huge issue in our district. I think that it's important for us to see how we can continue to protect the different restrictions we have in terms of protecting our rent control. In Albany, I would fight to continue pushing vacancy decontrol and see how we can push it forward through in the Senate as well. I think that it's important for our community to be able to stay where they've raised their children and live their life and have their business. I think it's also important for us to focus on our young professionals, that we don't want them to have to move to other communities to be able to afford living in the community that they've been raised in.
Thank you. Ms. Rosa?
Sure. Well, definitely we have to push in Albany to strengthen the rent control laws. It's never enough. We have to keep pushing until this doesn't have an expiration time. But besides that, also, as a Community Board 12 member, specifically in the Housing and Human Services Committee, we've been very proactive in passing resolutions as to having more affordable housing in our district. And we have to put some pressure in the developers that comes to our neighborhood. We are not against developers, but what we need from developers is for them to understand that they can build a building, but it has to be at least 80% affordable housing. We cannot have a building in our district, market rate, because the gentrification is going to keep going on and on. So I think that we definitely have to also bring the different housing and tenants' rights based organizations that we have in the district in the table, so we can have a conversation how to better look at that.
Thanks. Okay, Mayoral control of the city's public schools was reauthorized for 7 more years in 2009. Do you support the current system, and what are your recommendations for running the schools in your district? We'll start with you, Ms. Linares.
I do support mayoral control, but I think that it's important for us to really evaluate how we could improve it. One of the ways being involving parents more. I remember growing up, and during the time that we had school board, you know, parents had a more leadership role with it. I think that that would be a great way of starting. I think that we also have to see how we could support parents and ensuring that in part of the educational process that we have programs for our students, art program, after school programs that are going to help both parents but also the students in having more, one, a place to go, and two, some support and help. I think that that is the crucial way to be able to support the child, because teachers can only do so much, but as a parent, I have a 7-year-old and I know what it takes to do homework after a long day's work, and my interaction with her school is crucial.
Thank you. Ms. Rosa.
Sure. Well, I'm a mother of a 14-year-old boy, so he's a product of the public education, now going to high school, public high school also. I'm not in favor of mayoral control. I'm against that. I think that one person controlling the whole education system is not good. I think parents need to be more involved. I think that the monies that are placed in education should be spent in the classrooms, not in outsiders, contractors. So I really think that we need to take a look at that. Instead of closing schools, we have to improve our public education. And about the charter schools, I think it's a parent's choice. I believe that government doesn't have an obligation to get a charter school in a public school place. So we have to really focus in public school, and we have to provide the funds needed in the classrooms.
Thank you. Mr. Vargas.
Well, I have 3 children, 18, 19, and 20, all of them in college. One is at West Point in the United States Military Academy. The other one is a fully scholarship at the School of Biomedical Education. And my other daughter is also in college. They are the product of the mayoral control school. I do support Mayor Bloomberg's performance with the mayor's control school. It will be another mayor, probably, I hope they do the same job. But as I see the product of my children, it couldn't be better. My children are outstanding. They are the best children they could be at school, everywhere. And I'm glad that happened, the mayoral controls.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The President, via executive order, has decreed that certain qualified, undocumented immigrants can file for temporary legal status. Do you feel that the state will benefit from this new federal plan? Do you feel that the state has a role in determining immigration policy? Ms. Rosa.
Of course, and I am 100% humbled, and I really appreciate what the President did as an immigrant. I'm coming from the Dominican Republic, and I came to this country when I was 27 years old. So I really have the DREAM Act, and I have that executive order as something that we really earned, and with a lot of sacrifice. I think definitely that the state will benefit. We have to understand that this country is what it is because of the immigrants. And we cannot deny the opportunities of young people to become professional and to give to this country what others that has the privilege of being born in the United States have done. But definitely I appreciate that. I am so thankful as an immigrant, and I feel very proud that the President hear our voices.
Well, in the like the state cannot override federal law. We have a system in America as federal law, state law, city law. City had to had to comply with state law, had to adjust to state law. State had to adjust to federal law. I wouldn't like that, like happening in all the states out there where the government is dictating and the borders and also with the federal issues. I don't want that happening here in the state of New York. Who knows who governor could come in the future and what could do to our immigrants. I think it would be more visionary to keep the federal government in charge of the federal policies and not the state. We don't want someone, an executive person. We had a Republican governor here. We don't want that to be in the hand of the Republican governor making a decision what's going to happen with the immigrant, or having a city government, a state government exchanging information with the immigration government. That we don't want that. So I stay with federal government.
Thank you. Ms. Linares.
I think it's amazing what the president has been able to do, especially representing our community in the 72nd Assembly District. We have so many immigrants. We have so many immigrants that were pretty much raised here since they were very young children. To be able to give them the opportunity to participate and go to school and work is important, and that's why I will also push 100% the New York Dream Act. The New York Dream Act is here to support students that are undocumented to continue their college education, and that's important. We've already invested so much in them. Since pre-K to 12th grade, we need to continue that support moving forward to make sure that they can be successful. They're going to be our future. They're the ones going to be taking on the jobs and being able to work and build our community, and I think it's so important. And this immigrant community, which is Northern Manhattan, has strived so much, and although that our community is diversifying, we support that immigrant growth.
Thank you so much. Do you favor reforming campaign financing rules at the state level by significantly lowering limits on contributions to candidates and lowering limits to the housekeeping accounts of political parties? Would you support a system similar to the one established by the Campaign Finance Board in New York City? I'm going to give that to Mr. Vargas.
Thank you. I would definitely support the lowering the contribution from to political activities to the state level. I would not support matching funds at state level. I'm not sure. I participated in matching fund myself. I ran for city council. But it's not really the great advantage that has been seen. Usually those who have more money, they have more ability they have more friends. The rich people have rich friends, and they have more ability to get more higher contribution and get to the limit in the matching fund. I wouldn't even support that in this, although I have participated. I would not agree with, I would not support matching fund at the state level. I would agree to lower the contribution to state legislative candidates. Thank you.
I would support a reform. I think that what the city has is a good system. I would hope to see what the matching funds would. I have not had a chance to experience it, but as someone that has to fundraise, and this being my first round for the state assembly, I think that would be helpful. You know, to lower it, to give people an opportunity to have a stronger opportunity to run. I think that it's important. There's a lot of reform that needs to be done. There's a lot of transparency that needs to be had, and it's what would support our community to have a more fair playing field moving forward.
Thank you. Ms. Rosa.
Yes, well, definitely I will support a reform in the Campaign Finance Board. As a second-time candidate, I ran in 2010 for the same position I'm running today. It is so hard to get contributions, and I am a grassroots candidate. So if the limits are lowered, so you know, it will be easier for candidates like me to get more people involved, to raise even more money. And of course, to avoid the chance that millionaires can come into the race and put money into other candidates that will, impact negatively into my race specifically. I think that candidates should be running in a fair way. Everybody's entitled to raise money, but I think that the way the money is raised and where that money is coming from is very important.
Thank you. The New York State Public Ethics Commission has been working overtime these past few years. 2 more legislators have been in the news last week, accused of abusing the public trust and taxpayers' money. What needs to be done to ensure the voters that their representatives will serve them honestly and responsibly? I'll give that to Ms. Linares.
I think that, it makes me think of when they created the CCRB for the police, having somewhere where people could go and speak to. I think that there needs to be some sort of independent panel that could review not just the different legislators. It's important that the community invests so much and depends so much on the people that are representing them, and it's important to have a checks and balance so that it not just protects the community but also protects the elected, not to fall into one way or the other having issues. So I think that it's important for us to have a system that could really bring transparency. There's a responsibility that we are here to hold, and it's important that we do it respectfully.
Mr. Vargas.
Certainly. I agree somehow like candidate Linares in this matter. We need an institution who monitor the performance, especially economic performance. But there also is needed the board of election. The board of election has played an important role, how people get elected, how they do, and to make sure, but there is a connection between, not specifically the the money integrity of the elected officials, but how they get elected also is important. There is a connection, the whole thing since from the very, very beginning. So I will support, I will provide a legislation to create an independent commission to monitor the performance of the elected official and the board of election as well.
Ms. Rosa.
Yes, well, I believe definitely that the example needs to start in the race, in a campaign. The integrity, the transparency needs to start in the campaign. Where this money, the money that you are raising, where that money is coming from, how are you getting that money? It is very important in order for you to become an ethical elected official. And definitely the community and the voters needs to have a tool that they can check how this elected official is not only spending his or her budget in terms of the office that he or she represents, but also in the personal level. As a state employee, I can tell you we have to have harassment, sexual harassment, and ethical training every year. And there's little things that, even little gifts that you cannot receive because that will impact your role as an employee, and the same way as an elected official.
Thank you. We're going to look at the district, because many of the redrawn districts under the auspices of the state Senate and Assembly have strange shapes, as you can see from the maps. Originally, the governor supported a nonpartisan commission to redraw the lines for 2012. That didn't happen. And now he proposes a constitutional amendment to remove the drawing of the district lines to the incumbents and give the job to a nonpartisan commission. Do you support the governor's proposal? So I'm going to give that one to Ms. Rosa.
Yes, I support that. I think that a non-party should be the commission that should be dealing with the drawing the districts. When an incumbent has a say in that process, I don't think is a fair process. I think, and I also favor that when I was a candidate in 2010, and the same way now, that a nonpartisan commission should be the group that will take the process of withdrawing districts and take it away from incumbents.
Thank you. Mr. Vargas.
Sure, I do support the governor initiative on that concern. However, we have to be careful when this independent commission will be determined to be, how that independent commission will come to be about, how will be determined, how will be created, who would be part of that independent commission, or who would be the one selecting the member of the independent commission, because it wouldn't make much difference if the elected official are the one who's select the independent commission. So we have to look into that process. It's a two steps solutions, and I do support that, and I will look into how that going to be selected, that commission.
Thank you. Ms. Linares.
I also agree with the governor and support. I think an independent panel needs to be created, and it's the best system to do, so that when we're doing these lines, we don't have just the legislators' input, but have something that, again, is an equal playing field as well, that all districts are being considered the best way to benefit the community in all, and I think that that's an important step towards that.
Do you favor introducing high-volume horizontal hydraulic fracturing, or as they call it, hydrofracking, in New York? What legislation is needed to ensure safety, manage costs, and protect New Yorkers? Should there be federal legislation introduced as natural gas supplies cross state lines? I'm going to give that to Ms. Linares.
You know, it takes me back to the time when I worked in a nonprofit and I got to travel overseas, and I went to Africa and I saw what results in having different elements of nature being hurtful, children ending up blind because of water, and how important us looking into our environmental needs is. I think that right now, I think that right now, as we're moving towards this, a moratorium is important as we look into it. How do we do this safely? What options do we have in terms of using different sources of energy? We have wind, water. We need to look into what other options we have and make sure that it's safe. At this point, until something is safe, I don't think it's something that should be brought into New York State.
Thank you. Mr. Vargas.
I oppose that, and it is dangerous to the environment and to the community, to our structures, and I disagree with the governor on that issue. I will look into other means. Look into solar energy, all the ways of producing the substituting those gas. So I'm definitely against drilling in any area in the city of New York and the state of New York.
Ms. Rosa.
Sure, I think definitely that there's other safer ways to drill for natural gas. I don't think the easiest way is the best way, and I think that is the situation right now. That's why we are discussing this issue. That's the easy way to hydrofracking, and definitely that will impact tremendously in a negative way, not only the water sources, but also the air. I think that the environment protection groups should be brought to the table. They should be part of the discussion. They are the experts in these issues, but I definitely oppose to that. There's other ways to drill for natural gas, not always the easiest way is the best way.
Thank you. Reported in September 4th's New York Times, shootings are on the rise, up 6.1% from last year. Since the end of August, there have been 1,166 shootings. Guns and gun violence are very much on the minds of New Yorkers. The city's buyback program has been quite successful. Would you support a similar program to cover New York State? And I'll give that to Mr. Vargas.
Yes, I do. And in fact, I have inside knowledge of that, which is of that program, how successful they are. And I think it would be a great idea to bring it to the state of New York. I remember when once back in the early 90s when Fernando Mateos created a Toys for Gum. That was a great issue, a great thing to happen. And then that was followed by the other program, by gun amnesty program. And I think it's a good thing and it should be done around the state of New York. That will help to stop. And of course, there's other issues that is part of the usage of the weapons, and there had to be the youth, the motivation the youth had to stop bullying in school. We saw the other days how playgrounds were invaded with those kind of violence, and there's other issues that have to be taken care of. But I would support the program around the state of New York.
Thank you, Ms. Rosa.
Yes, I definitely support the program around the state of New York. We really don't need guns. I think we need to push to strengthen laws in Albany to stop not only selling the guns, but also who is using those guns. As a mother of a teenager boy, I can only imagine going through a nightmare like that. We have a lot of issues in our district about teenagers, violence, and gangs activities, as well as teenagers' depressions. But besides that, I think that as governments, they need to really take responsibility and really put this program back in the state of New York.
Thank you. Ms. Linares.
I completely agree with this program. I think that, like the other candidate mentioned, Mr. Vargas, about the Toys for Guns, I remember when that came out and it was very successful, and having that throughout the state I think would be a wonderful idea. I think something that we should fight and push for. As a mother, I see the news now and what's happening and see the growth of violence. Before we were reporting on gang against gang. Now we're talking about innocent victims day in and day out, and there has to be a way that we remove these guns. And I think education is a strong way of doing it. Supporting our nonprofit community organizations is another way, bringing programs into the community to give those children an alternate lifestyle to be able to move along is also something that we need to focus on.
Thank you. There has been much debate about the role of Wall Street in the economic crisis. In fact, none of the institutions or individuals involved have been held accountable to date. Do you favor a statewide effort to seek reform on Wall Street? Would you support a statewide prosecutorial effort against those responsible for the subprime mortgage and other financial crises? I'm going to give that to Ms. Linares.
I absolutely support that. I think that we need to really look into what Wall Street is doing, where we're going. I mean, there's so much that ends up with this that affects our different communities in terms of the finances. I mean, homes, people cannot take out loans. We have businesses closing down that really could use smaller loans. I mean, we have people with great credit that cannot take out loans. Imagine people that are in real need of that. So I think that it's very important for us to create a system to overlook it and make sure that they're held accountable for. I always say if you feel it in your pocket is when you learn.
Ms. Rosa.
Yes, I favor that program, and not only that, we need to really take a look in our tax system that we have. I really favor to raise the tax in the millionaires. I think that because of that, the loopholes that we have is really impacting business organizations that provides programs, and the lack of funding because of we don't have this money coming from the people that really are supposed to give this money. Is impacting negatively our community. So I don't only favor that, but also I think that we have to push for laws that make the people that earn more money to pay more taxes.
Thank you. Mr. Vargas.
Thank you. I served in the military for 24 years, and during that time I follow every instructions given to me pursuant to protection of the government, the way of life, and the Constitution of the United States. And I said that because the way of life of America is capitalist. We have freedom in businesses, in performing our business, in going ahead. We have freedom of prosperity. And if you work harder, you could be more successful. I would not penalize anyone for being successful. I will encourage other people to be successful and to work harder and to be more productive and to be more successful. I would not put it tied in Wall Street.
Okay. Our state is experiencing some of the toughest economic times in history, yet solutions to many problems have not been forthcoming from the State Assembly. Party politics have dominated over the needs and rights of state citizens. Do you feel that as an assemblyman, assemblywoman, you can do your job and reach across party lines to ensure that bills get passed quickly and not stuck in legislative limbo? I'll start with Ms. Rosa.
Sure. I've been working for over 12 years for someone like Assemblyman Danny Farrell, who is the chair of Ways and Means in the New York State Assembly. Besides that experience that I've been having working for him, it provides me also me as an individual, and he understands that once I become elected, I'm going to be an independent person in Albany. At the same time, we're going to be working as a coalition, and I'm a team player. But this is very important to keep in mind that because you are working in a team and you belong to a party, that doesn't mean that you have to compromise your own perspective of issues. And not only that, but I will be the type of elected official that I will bring to the table people that are left out, like community-based organizations and other community leaders, that they are entitled to sit in the table also and express their opinions.
Okay. And so now I'll give that to Mr. Vargas.
Thank you. I think the first thing that needs to be done in that concern is to stop that what we have. People get elected when they are selected by a political machine. And those people, like perhaps all the candidates running in the 72nd Assembly District, they come with their hand typed, with their loyalty to someone else. That you could see their poster attached to other poster or the elected official. You could be someone who's the daughter of another one of the candidates. So those, when you get elected, these officials, their decision-making ability is going to be deemed to their decision-making as prior, as their godfather or their supporters, the people who brought them into it. In my case, I had not exec in this campaign. I had not taken any money from anyone. I'm not talking from any individual at all in this campaign. I have worked hard with a few people, with a few other people, a lot of friends that I have volunteers, but not taking money because when I be elected, as I be elected September 13, I will work, my decision-making ability will be based solely in the best interest of the community.
Ms. Linares.
I think that the time that I spent working as a district leader, which was 10 years, you know, really gave me the ability to learn how to work with others in all different types of areas, different types of communities with different needs. And it's important to have relationships and know how to work with everyone moving forward. I think that that's how we can start trying to push through that. I mean, I agree there's so many things that just get caught up in the party politics, and there's something that needs to be done with it. I mean, we push forward to grow our party to succeed, but it's important to know how to work with others. As a district leader, I had to work with all elected officials within my community, both the council member and the and the senator, the congressman, and I'm happy to take the relationships that I've had, the experiences that I've had moving forward, and I think that's going to help me in the assembly to be able to move things along and push forward, and to also bring the community along with it. Without them, we're not going to be able to move things along.
Okay, thank you. The court system. The New York State court system is complex and convoluted with 11 different trial courts, each with unique jurisdiction. It is costly for litigants, for state, local, and county governments, as well as businesses and advocates. It diminishes resources and limits equal access to justice, especially those without counsel. A simplified and streamlined court system would reform the delivery of justice in New York. Would you support a constitutional amendment to simplify the New York State courts? And Mr. Vargas, you're going to get that one.
Thank you. I'm in favor of the current system that we have. We only have to be careful with when we elect district attorneys or state attorney generals or prosecutors. I think that's an important issue. We have seen in many occasions that a person who has been charged with a crime get home before the police officer who made the arrest. I'm not saying I will not regardless to what was the circumstances, but that happened many times. We need to make sure that when a crime happens, the person who's guilty of the crime be fully brought to justice, regardless to who the person is. And I think the current system, the main thing that we need to do is to make sure we got the right prosecutors and police officers also. Thank you.
I think that it would be good to look into a system that would be more favorable to communities that may not be able to afford lawyers to support them. There's so many issues in our community, whether it be business issues or family issues. To have another system, I mean, coming from the Democratic County of Manhattan, I've seen the process of what it takes to become a judge and go through the panel, and I think that system works well, but looking into something that can supplement and support, I think it's important to look into.
Okay. Ms. Rosa.
Yes, I favor to simplify the court system, and not only to simplify it, but also to make it more accessible to the communities. We need to have more attorneys that provide services pro bono in our community in different areas, housing, and youth, family issues, women issues, domestic violence, and you can name it. Is something that we need to look into it. I think we need to simplify it, but also we have to make it more accessible to our communities, specifically in the District 72nd, in which a lot of programs has been cut down, the funds for these programs, which provides orientation and services to families in need.
Thank you. The candidates have been very efficient and thoughtful in their responses, and so now we're going to go to the lightning round. I'm just going to ask you your preference for the fun of it. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Beach or mountains?
I'm coming from an island, beach.
Right. Okay. Jazz or rock and roll?
Rock and roll.
Jazz or rock and roll?
Rock and roll.
Jazz or rock and roll?
Rock and roll.
Look at that. We've got a consensus here. Okay. Soccer or baseball?
Baseball.
Soccer or baseball?
Baseball.
Soccer or baseball?
Baseball.
This is great. No football, no soccer here. Okay, that's great. All right, tough one, some people think. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Cat or dog?
Both.
Oh, no.
I have both at home, and one's meant. I love them both. So what can I do?
Okay.
I can. If you had two child, who would you love more?
Who could you
That's the
pick?
question you're asking me.
Right. I don't know if this is so hard. Bus or subway?
Subway.
Bus or subway?
Subway.
Bus or subway?
Subway.
Yeah, we're all there too. Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Oh, look at this. And finally, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
See? Tells us something about you. I'm not sure what, but thank you so much. We are now going to go to closing statements for our candidates. Each candidate will be given a minute and a half. And so we'll start as we had drawn lots. And so Ms. Rosa will start with her closing statements.
Sure. Thank you. But first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity to interact with communities that are watching us right now. As a candidate from 2010 and a candidate from 2012, I've been consistent with what I think I need to do. I want to represent my community in government. I've been working for over 12 years, both in the state and the city, and I've been preparing myself to fairly and equally represent the members of the 72nd Assembly District. This candidacy is a community candidacy. My candidacy is not inherited. My candidacy is not something that I choose because I feel like it. This candidacy is a serious candidacy, and I just hope that on September 13th, a Thursday this time, the people of the community give me their support and their trust.
Mr. Vargas.
Thank you. I'm Ruben Vargas. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm a people person. I love people. I'm here because I want to serve the human being. And I respect people regardless to their potentials, their custom, where they're going to, where they're coming from. Whether or not I understand their traditions or their custom, I love people. And that's why I'm running for state assembly. If becoming an assembly member will enlarge my abilities to providing inspirations, motivation, and leadership to people of goodwill, and tirelessly work with these people of goodwill for the construction of a better city, New York, a better society, a better state of New York, very America, with fairness and justice for all, without exceptions. Thank you. I'm Ruben Vargas.
Thank you. Ms. Linares.
I'm very excited to have this opportunity to run. I'm born and raised in this community. I lived in Washington Heights, I've lived in Marble Hill, I lived in Inwood, and now I'm raising my own family in Inwood. And you know, being able to see the growth of it since I was a child and participate in it has been so important to me. I've been able to see the growth of education in terms of schools, in terms of safety. Be able to see that my community has really invested a lot to take it to where it is right now. I think that my career politically, starting at the age of 5, handing out flyers, and at 12, knocking on doors, and at 18, being a county committee member, and then at 23, running for district leader, it gives me a good, gives me a strong understanding of not just what it takes, but what the playing field is. You know, sometimes you think of it, politics, you're in a tank full of sharks, and you know, I think that I know how to swim and I can manage it. But I also feel that I have a professional side that's going to add to it. I've worked in a nonprofit. I've traveled internationally. I have a strong humanitarian side. I've also had my own business, and being able to see what the struggles are of a lot of businesses in my own community, and then to end up in the governor's office to really see where the state is going, how I can bring those services within my community, but also bring the concerns of my community to the governor's office, to the state level, and knocking on the door and hopefully having it opened with the relationship that I have built throughout the years. So I'm very excited about this opportunity moving forward, and we're leaders before we start, and I'm going to be a leader afterwards, and I'll continue to be supporting this community as I have throughout the years.
Thank you. We still have time, so I was just wondering if anybody has any follow-up that they would like to say, anything else that they would like to talk to the community about.
Sure. Well, I would like to add also that besides my role as a state and city employee, I am also a Community Board 12 member. This is the community board that pertains in our area. And not only the Housing and Human Services Committee, but also the Youth and Education Committee. And that provided me a specific view of different issues, and provided me also the opportunity to pass resolutions in favor to our community. It is very important that the people understand that candidates needs to be not only living in the district, but being part of the community. And that way they will be able to be representing them fairly and equally.
Mr. Vargas, do you have any follow-up?
Basically, the process that we currently have, the political process, the way we elect members of the legislators, there is some amendment that had to be done and that need to be done. Some modifications and some changes need to be done, and that will help to cure the problem that we have with some problem that happened in Brooklyn and in the Bronx with some elected officials. And I think the one very important issue is right now is the way elected official or legislator come to be legislator. You had to bring major reforms on the way that the system is done, and it probably is not sufficient time right now to explain that, to talk about that. But there is a lot of things that need to be talked about that to be able to correct those ethical problems.
And finally, Ms. Linares.
Well, I just want to, share that I've had the opportunity to visit with different homes within my community to share some of the issues that they've had, and they're hoping for me to work on when I go to Albany. One of them is, supporting our nonprofits, community-based nonprofits in the area. We have Alianza Dominicana that we really want to push forward to see if we could survive. They're one of the biggest that we have in our community. And what that shows me is that we really need to focus on how we can strengthen our smaller ones. If such a large organization organization is going through such issues and needs such support, how do we strengthen our smaller nonprofits? How do we help them grow their board, learn to get more funding privately, not just government-wise, and that's going to help us be able to bring more services to our community, to be able to provide to our young people that need jobs. We have mothers that need daycare because they're not able to really go to school because that's an issue. I mean, the grandparents aren't like the grandparents when it was my turn. People are not retiring so quickly. These are services that they're going to need.
Thank you. I really appreciate everybody here and the discussion that you gave. Again, I want to remind viewers that the primary election is on Thursday, September 13th. And we really, as the League of Women Voters, we want to get out the vote. We need for the community to get out there and to vote. So if you are a registered voter and you're enrolled in the Democratic Party, polls are open 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. For voter information, you may contact the League of Women Voters at 212-725-3541, or you may go to our website, lwvnyc.org, for voter information. And check out our vote411.org on the League of Women Voters website. And we have a palm card, both in English and Spanish, called Countdown to Election 2012, Choosing the President. So contact the League of Women Voters, get this and all sorts of other information so we can get people out there and voting. Thank you, everybody, for participating, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in.